Hello guys, we are going to talk about a crime thriller film called The Crow from 2024. A lot of interesting things are waiting for you. The film begins with memories of a young man's childhood who is walking through the countryside and comes across a dying horse. This event leaves a tragic imprint on the future life of the future criminal. The story moves forward a few years to a musician named Shelley. Her friend Zadie warns her over the phone that she has sent a dangerous video that compromises an influential man named Vincent Rogue, with whom she once had fun at a party. The conversation is cut short when Zadie enters the house where Marion, Rogue's assistant, is waiting for her. Realizing that this will not bring her any good, Shelley hides the compromising phone and rushes to escape. Outside, a cunning stranger in civilian clothes is already chasing her, but he falls behind when the girl is stopped by the police, who find illegal substances that have fallen out of her bag. Meanwhile, Zadie is brought to Rogue, who for the sake of status, positions himself as a musician aristocrat and makes friends with famous musicians. During the girl's interrogation, Rogue confesses that he made a deal with the devil long ago in exchange for eternal youth, and now he sends innocent souls to hell. Rogue whispers a will subjugation spell into Zadie's ear, forcing her to end her life, then mixes his blood with hers to consume her life. The story shifts to a rehabilitation center where a tattooed former carnival worker named Eric is undergoing treatment. He spends his monotonous days in spiritual practices and sports in a stylish pink suit. Soon he notices a girl named Shelley, who sits down next to him at the lunch table to get to know him. Word by word, they gradually become friends and get closer. Eric even shows her his drawings, which are full of darkness and hopelessness, completely devoid of meaning and any color but black. The idyll is broken when Shelley sees that someone has come for her. Together with Eric, she organizes an escape through a vent, and the boy helps her climb over the barbed wire. When a naive driver picks them up on a forest road near a rehabilitation center, they head to the apartment of one of Shelley's friends instead of fleeing the city. Instead of escaping, however, they indulge in sensual pleasures and continue to use illegal substances, even when the police find several bodies in the water. Roeg is disappointed that he hasn't been able to find Shelley. He orders his men to finish the job, implying that she has lingered in this world. Meanwhile, Shelley and Eric are unsuspecting and go to a fancy nightclub party. There, Shelley meets an old friend who warns her that she is being hunted by serious people. Frightened, she decides to return home to pack her things and escape, but they don't have time. They are ambushed, and the bandits eliminate Shelley and Eric with a cellophane bag. In the last moments of his life, Eric sees the face of his dying girlfriend and her killer. Eric dies, but then comes back to life. Mourning his girlfriend, he makes his way to a space that looks like a forgotten train station. There, Eric is met by a mysterious old man named Kronos, who informs him of an opportunity to return to the world of the living to avenge his death and the death of Shelley. After he takes revenge, he and his beloved will be reunited in heaven. Kronos brings Eric back to life in his apartment. The bewildered boy wanders around the room, not knowing what to do, until a corrupt policeman finds him. The policeman tries to eliminate Eric to hide the traces of the crime, but Eric cannot die a second time. In a fierce fight, Eric eliminates the policeman, and after the fight, his wounds heal very quickly. Still recovering from the events, Eric wanders the streets, where he has a vision of Shelley falling into the water on a bridge. He jumps in after her, and his soul is transported back to purgatory to Kronos. He tells him that Eric must destroy all of Rogue's minions and Rogue himself, who has made a deal with the devil. As long as Eric and Shelley's love remains pure, his wounds will heal. After returning to the world of the living, Eric goes to his girlfriend's friend, tattoo artist Chance, to get a gun. Armed, he goes to Shelley's funeral, where he meets her mother, Sophia. She confesses that she once made a deal with Roeg and promised him her daughter's soul in exchange for wealth. Disappointed, Eric finds a hidden badge with a specific address and goes there. He sees that the bandits are already standing near the place where Shelley and Eric are hiding. An attempt to negotiate with the gangster's driver ends in his death, and then Eric meets with Marion and her bodyguards. In a fierce fight, Eric is thrown out of the car right under the truck's wheels, but he heals and crawls after his target. Meanwhile, Rogue visits Sophia, where the otherworldly Avenger has recently visited her. The man wants to know why he came. Having learned everything he can, the immortal sorcerer decides that this is not enough and orders his subordinate to jump from the roof. She diligently follows the order while the boss walks to the car. Meanwhile, Eric catches his girlfriend's friend, who tried to warn her about a stalker in a nightclub. From him, he learns the address where his girlfriend used to live before she went to rehab. In the hiding place, he finds a phone with a video recording. While visiting Rogue, Shelley plays the piano, but the owner puts a knife in front of her, leans over and whispers something in her ear. The girl takes the dagger and eliminates one of the guests. What Eric saw remained in his soul like an unpleasant residue. He goes back to Chance to discuss the situation, but armed rogues bandits burst in. The uninvited guests want to explain to Eric that he is in the wrong, that he is distracting an important man with his presence. In response, Eric rushes into a fight, but he is beaten a little and Chance is eliminated. In a fit of rage, Eric breaks free, but is shot with a shotgun and falls into a bathtub of water. As he falls, Eric remembers the video of Shelley eliminating the stranger. Doubts about his love for her led him back to Kronos. The guardian Limbo explains that since his feelings are tainted with seeds of doubt, he cannot heal himself now. However, since he wants to continue the good work, Kronos offers him another deal: the power of the mythical Raven in exchange for his killing Roeg, the Devil's Messenger. Sealing the deal with blood, the bearded man brings Eric back to Earth. Rising from the bathtub, Eric begins to deal justice to the bandits, killing 2 and wounding 1. Saving ammunition, he finishes off the leader with a shotgun. Looking through his phone's messages, Eric finds out that Marion is at the opera and will be there for another 2 hours. He thinks he could make it to the Canadian border in time, but instead gets ready to hit the road. After finishing the tattoo on his arm, he smears mascara on his eyes for more mysticism, then tries on a leather cloak and picks up his katana. While Marion and her bodyguard arrive at the theater, Eric approaches it on foot. He begins to attack the guards with the katana. The other guards try to stop him while an opera melody plays in the background, but they are very unsuccessful. Despite numerous bullet wounds, Eric quickly deals with the bandits, using not only his sword, but also a pistol he found. Feeling that she is in danger of death, Marion calls Rogue, but the sorcerer has already written her off and does not want to help her. Her bodyguard tries to shoot the revenge-seeking Eric, but is unsuccessful. Eric takes off his arm and then his head. The guy goes to Marion's room to find out where to find Rogue. Reluctantly, the woman admits that the boss is in his mansion and tells him about her witchcraft skills. Having learned everything he wanted to know, Eric beheads Marion to the applause of the audience and enters the stage with his trophies, scaring the people. As they scatter, he sees Shelley in the audience. He takes a bouquet of flowers and goes to the bridge where he and Shelley used to stand. He decides to put the flowers there in memory of her. Then Eric goes to the Rogue mansion. The big house is empty, luring the boy into a trap. He purposefully moves down the stairs to the basement, where the sorcerer who made a deal with the devil is already waiting for him. Putting the blade to his hand, Eric injures his palms. Distracting the guest with talk, Rogue tries to stab him in the chest with a dagger, but Eric intercepts the weapon to demonstrate that he is immortal. The boy stabs himself in the chest, but the sorcerer only needed to make him bleed. Whispering a spell, Rogue jumps into the mirror, and they are both transported to Limbo, where Eric gains additional powers. Eric attacks the sorcerer and knocks him straight down, after which the souls he has destroyed drag Rogue straight into hell. After that, the soul of the freed Shelley rises from the water. She and Eric embrace, but they cannot be together because of the terms of the deal. The girl feels the shocks of a defibrillator, which bring her back to life in the same apartment where they were killed by the bandits. A doctor with the face of Kronos leaning over her, and Eric lying next to her. The nurse states his time of death. The doctor says that the boy gave his life for her. It seems like it was all a drug-induced delusion, if not for the tattoo on Eric's arm, which was completed before the final fight. While Shelley cries downstairs, in Limbo, Eric accepts his new position as a security guard, believing that one day he and Shelley will be reunited again.